I became an educator is because I had an educator with vision within my life. Her name was Miss Gunner. And a little bit of my story that I have not shared with you yet is that I'm the youngest of 11 kids. I grew up in a house of 13, and so you can imagine the dynamic that was in my home, and not only the dynamic of the community that I grew up in. We grew up with a lot of challenges. And those challenges were only enhanced because I lost my older sister at 2. I lost a brother at the age of 10. And I lost another sister 7 days before my 9th grade year. 7 days before my 9th grade year, we get a knock at the door. A police officer opens up, and he takes his hat off his head and he lets us know that my sister had just had a car wreck. He said, but her heartbeat is faint. So like any family would do, we rush to the hospital. And unfortunately, by the time we got to the hospital, my sister had passed away. 7 days before my 9th grade year. I'll be completely honest with you. I was mad, angry. If we think about the continuum that we saw up there earlier, I was probably at the very end of whatever that continuum is. And I had made a decision at that point that I do not care. I do not care. In my mind, I had a bad hand at this thing called life. And I went to school and I showcased the traits and behaviors of someone that did not care. A student without any apathy. I was an equal opportunity offender. I didn't care who you were, didn't care what was going on, I just gave whatever it was, and it wasn't very good on a lot of those days. And I had an educator one day, I was cutting up in class, and she shared this statement. Daniel, when you grow up, you're not gonna be anything. Right there in the middle of class. I wanna put two pictures together. One of that moment, and one of a lady by the name of Mrs. Gunner. Forever grateful for her. During that same year, I had a whole lot of challenges. One day, I'm cutting up in her class, and Ms. Gunner, she tells me, Daniel, get out in the hall. And as I go out into the hall, she asks me this question. She says, what am I missing? And I'm, what are you talking about? She says, what am I missing? Ms. Gunner was one of those educators that always spoke life, always uplifted me. And I really don't know why she did it, because I didn't give her any reason to see good inside of me. Much like her, I was like it that way in every other class that I went to. And this day she calls me out and she says, what am I missing? And I said, what are you talking about? And I said, you know, Ms. Gunner, you always got a lot of questions. I said, you answer this question for me and I answer any question that you have. I said, if you tell me why my two sisters and my brother had to die, and nobody else here is dealing with the stuff that I have to deal with, I answer any question that you got. And it got quiet. Because the answer is that there is no answer to that question. But Ms. Gunner did something for me in that moment that I was not expecting. She gave me this big old hug. And much like right now, my allergies started messing up. And she's made this statement to me. She says, Daniel, I don't have an answer to that question, but I do have this for you. What will you do with the life that you have left to live that they no longer have? It's at that moment I realized that I had been, thank you, I've been living life based on what happened to me versus living a life of legacy, what could be. So looking in the past, I looked into the future. And I had the opportunity to go back and speak in my old high school. And Ms. Gunner was there, still teaching to this day. She's been teaching about 40 years. She ain't never gonna stop. And Ms. Gunner, she was there, she said, oh, she gave me this big old hug. She said these words, baby, I always knew you had it inside of you. That's an educator with vision. Which one are you? Which one are you? Educators have to see beyond what they see in order for them to invest, in order for them to produce something that is not there at this moment. Transformation. Now my dad, and I love my mom and my dad, but I needed somebody outside of my home. My parents had to say nice stuff about me. Heck, I'm a byproduct of you. You gotta say nice stuff. Ms. Gunner does not have that requirement. You don't have that requirement unless you're an educator with vision.